You're starting, aren't you?
I am. Well, we're gonna say hello first, like normal, but hello everybody. And Doc Reed's here. Alan's here. Alan's in San Diego. Doc is in Charlotte. Faye is here. Amy Lynn and Amy Lyons and my mom and John Ingalls. And Maura McDonald. So I'm glad everybody's here. Thank you. Some of you guys got to see this. Many of you got to see this already live. So then now when Doc says sup friends, I'm thinking it's super friends. No, I think it's like super friends. That's just like a shortened sup. Yeah, the super friends. That's it.
Soup friends.
Right. We do have to have all the Amy's. The other Amy, and Alan. Alan Hess, I said, was here too. Okay, so and Paul's here in Minneapolis. Okay, so this is part 2. It is the extended version, if you are wondering.
It's the Criterion version if you buy Blu-rays.
Right. Okay, so we're going to get started. I've got a cough again, but I'm already recording. Oh, well, sucks for anybody listening. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start our share. Unless, Dave, you have anything you want to...
No,
you ready?
I have nothing to add. Let's get through this because we went way over last time, and we got to keep on the straight and narrow.
Okay, we got some other people joining us. It's good to see y'all. Okay, here we go. So our talk was the secret to being a super friend. We had 8 points, right? There were 8 points to our thing, and the 5th point was you need to be approachable. So we're just diving right in. If you're watching from the last one, you can just scoot through however many minutes this is, 14 minutes, maybe not 14. I don't know. Okay, here we go. I think you need to be approachable. And what that means is how can you be approachable? Well, I think most everybody probably has always felt a little awkward. So especially when you're out with other people or online like this, maybe you feel awkward, but the more you do it, the better you get. I think the better it'll feel. But how many, if you guys in the chat or you're thinking, you want to comment in the comments, wherever, how many have you ever felt out of place when you're at an event, when you're at a conference or you're at like a networking, like it feels like everybody's got their stuff together, but maybe Amy says pretty much all the time. Dave, right? That was, right.
Why? Think about why you feel out of place. What's the thing that's making you feel not connected?
Well, and if you look around, lots of people are just, when there's other people, we'll just revert to looking at our phone, right? Totally. And Abra, it's so good to see you. Okay, she's in North Carolina too. Okay, so I just think we have to be willing to be awkward and because you may be being like, I'm just going to look at my phone. I'm just going to look at my phone. But really, you have to be the one that goes up and maybe says something to someone or says something like, man, I must not have gotten the memo to wear all black or whatever it is, when we're sometimes with a lot of art things, it's everybody's in all black and I wore pink or something, Doc says awkward is his middle name. So but sometimes everybody kind of is feeling that way. You just need to be able to go up to people. And I think that it's better if you're not trying to pretend and be somebody else. Like if you are a fleece wearing jacket person like me, then you should just be a fleece wearing jacket person. Don't try. I know my sister's like tried to put me in like a jacket. She's like, this will look nicer with that dress or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I think my fleece looks fine with the dress. I think I'm going to stick with this. You just have to be you, because when you start putting on things or you start trying to be somebody else, there's not enough room in their bucket for you to try to be like them. And there's not enough room in your bucket for anybody to try to be like you. Right, Dave?
Absolutely.
So I also think that when you're consistent in showing up as yourself, that means that you're imperfect, that you don't say all the right words, that you lose your train of thought. When you're honest about that, then it just builds trust. So because nobody's perfect, so it makes the connection. And I think that's something that Dave and I both have had with lots of other people, but also with each other. But it's something that we've noticed is that we just don't try to put on airs, I guess, right? There's just no there's no hope for me and Dave. Anyway,
if I tried.
So it's better if we just accept people as how they are, and we are just not going to try to be like anybody else. So Dave, I'm going to ask you this, and then you guys can answer this also in the chat. How many jobs or projects have you landed as a result of a client or employer seeing your portfolio?
Well, I don't want to blow my own trumpet here, but it's actually a big fat 0. And the reason for that is it's funny because I think there was the last one, or maybe it's this one, where we talk about one of my most hated phrases in graphic design, imposter syndrome, is I don't deliberately not share my work because I don't feel I'm good enough, or it's good enough, or I don't deserve to be like competing with the rest of the world. It's from very early on, because most of my early part of my career was making the designing stuff that was for a client, that was for the company I worked for. It wasn't portfolio work. It was my day to day. So as long as my employer was happy that what I was creating entitled me to a wage and a living, I was happy that the work was fit for purpose, that it did what it did. And even though I was doing stuff on the side, in the beginning, the internet wasn't really a place, there wasn't really a home for that like there is now. So I never got into the habit of feeling like I needed to keep putting anything I did out there. In fact, I was saying to the girls, we were out in the car the other day, there's a company in Swindon, and in 2009, I met the marketing director at a football match. My youngest lad was playing football. His lad was in the same team. We were chatting. I said, I just moved to Swindon. We just had our first daughter. And he said, oh, what do you do? And so I'm a graphic designer. He's like, oh, we're thinking of rebranding our company. Would you be prepared to help? So yeah, okay, I'd love to. So I went in and we had a couple of meetings and we agreed a price and like a fee and an hourly fee and a rate for doing the work. And we went back and forward, and he was really hands-on. And I think I've only just recently thrown it away, but I had a big, thick folder of all the sketches we did and all the notes we took and photos of the equipment. And I ended up designing this logo, which if I showed you it, you'd go, eh? But it's exactly what the client wanted. They absolutely loved it. And they had, I think, about 10 vehicles in their fleet. They've now got about 50 vehicles in their fleet.
Oh,
they do tarmacking, road surfacing, just all sorts of that kind of work. And their fleet is constantly all around Wiltshire. So nearly every day I see a truck or a van or a car with the logo on the side. And I still have to take a photo of it. I still get excited when I see it. Now, it wouldn't be award winning. Bill Gardner wouldn't entertain it for Logo Lounge. It wouldn't even make Dribble or Behance, but I'm really proud of it because of the work that went into it and what it did. And that company's happy with it. So why not do stuff like that? I don't feel the need to share it because the person I made it for is happy with it.
But it's also that they you helped them to get further in their business. And that is what we do. It's not always about making it
it's not about
award winning, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so
we don't need to have that pressure of everything we do is award winning. And I can't remember who I spoke to. I've forgotten who I'm speaking to about this stuff because I've been telling so many people about this talk. Is I don't tend to look at what I call convenient design, which is where lots of people post stuff online where it's not a real company, but it's a very convenient combination of names where you can get a nice icon. And there's kind of this, I don't know, it always looks fake to me where it's like the hand sketch and it's just very conveniently like works out perfectly. And I just think I get it. I get why people do it. They want to show their thought process, but sometimes it feels like it's been done in reverse. So it was all done on Illustrator and then backwards. And don't get me wrong, there is a ton of work out there, graphic designers, logos, branding. I look at it all the time. It was just something I never did. My portfolio is me. and how approachable I am, how genuine I am if I go into a company. And most of the work I've had or I've got has come from people meeting me at an event, talking to me about what I do, listening to me talk about how much I love what I do. And then I get the work from that and we do it and I deliver it to them and I get paid and I move on. And I've never got into the habit of sharing the work. So they don't see a portfolio. And if you Google me, which sounds really like big-headed, my book comes up and some modeling that I've done comes up, some weird photos of me as a boxer or a psycho with a blade. But it's normally the podcast, the book covers I've done for Glyn and Alan, a little bit of modeling, and maybe an odd project I've forgotten about. But you won't find, I have got a Behance, but it's only got the book covers on. You won't find a Dribble or Behance, a website, a portfolio. My Instagram is a mess. It's just full of whatever comes out my brain that day. But then again, my living isn't being a logo designer. I'm sure if that was my bread and butter and what I needed to do, I'd probably change, but it's not who I am. So the point of it is like, don't totally rely on the work you do, because you could do amazing work, but be the worst person to be around. Or you could have no work and be a most amazing person to work with. So I would always say, be yourself, be genuine, and people will hire you without needing to see a portfolio. Portfolio helps. You obviously want to show some work that you've done, but I don't live and die by it.
Right. But I guess what we were trying to go with this point was that some people will just hire you because they meet you and they like you. But that means that you need to be open to talking to them. I know Faye goes to a networking meeting over in the UK in Tunbridge, I think. Yeah. Right. So, and I'm thinking, and Faye, maybe you can answer this in the chat. Or Alan, like when you're in San Diego, you're just walking up and you say, hey, I'm a photographer for events and stuff like that. I'm sure people aren't like, well, let me see some of those photos, right? Before hey, I have an event. I need a photographer for this, or I need a logo for this, or I need, as Faye's talking about what she does, or Amy's talking about what she does, right? People aren't like, well, prove it. Let me see it, right? And I think that there's something to that, but that hopefully should encourage you that unless you're just mean, that you can actually, every opportunity that you have, if you're standing in line, you could talk to the person in front of you or behind you, because then you actually may get work from something like that. It doesn't just have to be your portfolio online. I probably haven't gotten, I've gone to a job interview and I've showed them my portfolio, but I mean like client settings where I just am talking to someone. I almost have never, I would also say a big goose egg that nobody has ever said, oh, well, let me see your portfolio. We first sit down and we talk, and then they know that if I've been in business this long, I must be able to do what they want, right? Or I can hopefully meet their needs. Okay.
Yeah. Alan just made a good point, which is really important because it works positive and negative, is word of mouth. I would much rather be referred by someone I've worked with in the same way we've spoken about previously, is when we do a warm introduction to someone, that carries so much weight. And I think it was Faye and somebody else said, obviously they get to know you, but they do need to see some work. But people want to work with good people and then know that you're qualified. I wouldn't have a conversation with someone, even if I claimed to be the most amazing person on the planet, if I couldn't back it up with the work. Otherwise, I'm going back to being disingenuous and I'm not being me and I'm trying to fit in with someone else. And it's like the actors who go, yeah, of course I can ride a horse. And then someone comes along and goes, oh, we'd love you to be in this film about cowboys. It says you can ride a horse. And they're like, crap, I've got to learn to ride a horse now.
Right.
Don't be learning to ride the horse. Make sure you can already write it.
And I do think there, like Paul's saying, new clients need some sort of validation for the qualifications, but it's like, that's the stuff that you're going to show on your website. But it's also, wow, maybe this should also be something like what Dave's saying. He may not have the paving company on his website, but he could talk about that as a client success, that from working with Dave, it went from how many service vehicles
I
did they have?
I think it was 10 and it's now about 50 and
so
growing.
5 times as many. Like, that's huge. Oh, hey, Pippa's also in Tunbridge or near, she's the photographer I want to connect you with. Okay.
We all live just outside London.
That's right. Okay. Doc says, what's the balance between saying yes and figuring it out versus that don't learn to ride the horse?
Well, I just think, but at this point in our career, we know what our strengths are and we know the jobs. Like, I used to do web design because it was the biggest, best money you could earn back in the day, but it's the never ending job. A website never ends. There's never a line drawn. I still get asked to do website stuff and I just refuse to do it. So there are things I can do and I won't do. At the same time, somebody came to me and said they were looking for some character creation and animation. And I went back, and rather than go, oh, yeah, that sounds cool, I'd love to do that, I know my limitations in time, and I wouldn't really know how to deliver that project and whether I could fulfill it. So I rejected it because it's like, well, I could create a character and I could learn After Effects, but that's not giving that customer the best service. They might want to work with me, but I can't deliver the best product for them. So I would rather say, oh, I've got a buddy who does that. Go and ask that person. So I think it's just knowing what can you fit in, what can you deliver that you'd be proud of, that you'd be the customer would feel proud of. Nothing worse than somebody going, I really love you, Dave, and thanks for doing it, and pays the money, and then them going afterwards thinking, oh, it's good, but it's not what we wanted. But I don't want to upset Dave. He's a really nice guy. I don't want to upset Diane. She's a really nice lady. And so you never want that, because it just leaves a weird smell in the room.
For sure. So this is yours, Dave. It's blue.
Oh, yeah. So my body of work isn't just my design. I'm trying to think where we were. Crikey, it's been so long since we
Well, I think it was it's just that our portfolio isn't the only thing, right? It is about being friendly. It's about being able to solve issues and being able to talk about some of those success things from other people. Yeah,
my body of, I mean, if you ever get an email from me, I've got probably my signature is my portfolio, because it says I'm a graphic designer, I'm an author of a book, I'm an instructor at these events, I'm a podcast host, and here's my phone number, and here's my email, or here's my phone number and something else. So that's kind of my body of work. Is, look, these are the things. So the fact that I've spoken at an event, you kind of get a feeling that I know a little bit about what I'm talking about and bluff the rest of it, or that I've written a book about something design related, so I'm kind of knowledgeable there. But I tend to probably say my email signature is my body of work, and then you can pull the bits out of it that you want. But
it is important. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was saying, I just can't be bothered to update a portfolio.
Yeah, updating a portfolio is a whole nother episode we'll have to do. But and Paul's saying, something that's important. It's as you have, if you've been in business for 10 years or 20 years or 25 years, you are probably, and Paul and I have talked about this recently, we kind of get bored until we start doing something new. And then we start doing something new and we start doing something else. But then we're honing in, but we're also like, in the beginning of our careers, we say yes to lots of things. And Dave used to do websites. I said yes to websites also in 2005. And I love doing websites now, but I used to do logos, and now I actually point those to somebody else because those just really stress me out. So I don't like those. But I think that's why we need community, because we're not. And we're going to get to that in just a second. So let me go to the next one. So here's where we were going to manage your expectations about me and Dave. So I'm going to just start. Oops, boogers. I am awkward, but that means that I am relatable. So we should all just harness our inner awkwardness. I'm curious, and that means that I'm never bored and I'm always learning. I'm unpolished, which means that, again, approachable. people don't necessarily aren't afraid to come up to me. I'm like the weird person with 3 arms that I don't have 3 arms, but the weird person that they're like, well, at least I'm not as weird as that person. Or, like they're not going to judge you, or that's me. I'm not going to judge you because I'm already, like, anyway, I'm just digging myself a hole here. I'm quirky, and that have been told that was refreshing and unexpected. And I wasn't the smartest kid, meaning that I wasn't an all A's kid, but it helped me to develop grit. And that meant that I knew life was going to be hard and things were going to be hard, but it meant that I kept trying, and you couldn't keep me down. And then I have ADHD, which I think means that I can juggle more than most. Sometimes it's not super great, but most of the time I think it's a superpower. Okay, Dave, this one's you.
Yeah. One that came up at work this week was we realized for my age, I've been alive in 7 decades.
Oh, wow.
It's mad. And you only know how old you feel when you're filling in something on the phone and you have to scroll back to your year of birth. And it feels like H.G. Wells' Time Machine just going.
Yes.
But yeah, so when I tell people my age, it's like I'm old, but with that comes experience. As you'll probably realize, I'm very retrospective. I compare a lot of things I've done to things I've done in the past, and I use my past to guide my future. I'm not one of those thinking forward. I kind of live now and use the past to remind me what I do. Believe it or not, I am an introvert. I think you can become. I think Chris Doe put something. He's a loud introvert or something.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
My confidence is better, but I am still an introvert. I even noticed it at Creative South. I did find myself blending into the wallpaper a couple of times rather than be part of a conversation. It was like, well, that's old me, but it's still me. But it means you're a listener, because you tend to not be the center of attention. You can kind of stand back, listen to what's going on, hear about people. And then that gives me the confidence. Then when I do go and speak to them, I don't kind of go, hey, I was just listening to you and you said you like this and I like it too. Let's be best friends. But it is good to kind of tune into what's going on around you, so that if someone does come up and talk to you, you're kind of not cold. I think I'm a bit quirky and weird about stuff, which I think gives you broader interest for conversation, because sometimes an odd conversation is one that someone will remember. I'm unqualified. And what I mean by that is I left school at 16. There were no computers apart from on Star Trek. I went and did engineering. So everything I've learned to be where I am today has come from just picking it up as I went and doing a night school at college, reading books, joining organizations. And you've seen at the beginning, if you remember the last time, that the things that have happened to me that that started in my 40s, not even like way back then. So I've got a lot of friends and mentors from the past, including Mike, that have taught me a lot. And that's given me the confidence to learn more. And so I'm not qualified in terms of exams, but I think I'm qualified in other ways that are more a Dave and Diane thing. Is that I'm qualified in being me. Chatty. I love conversation. Conversation is education. You always learn something about someone or something or a subject. And even if you have no interest in it, listen, because it's a thing to bank. If you ever meet someone else that's got that interest, you can go, I know about fly fishing or whatever. And I'm very curious, which makes me a little more knowledgeable. It means I'm always exploring and finding things out. I'm forever taking screenshots of things that look interesting. And then when I've got some downtime, I go and find a book or a website or something and read a bit more about it. I do that more than I read stories. So yeah, if you do all these things, opportunities will come your way. If you be who you want to be and put yourself out there, these things will start to come to you. Now, my slide's different. Yeah. So I'm checking because I'm looking at Diane's, but I've also got a copy on the screen to remind me where we were. What I call the breadcrumb trail. Somebody said once, if you look at anybody who does anything good, success leaves clues. So you can go and look and see, well, okay, how did that person get from A to B? What things did they do to do that? And a lot more people share information now than they ever did. Back in the day, it was, I can't remember if we said it the last time, but do you remember at school when you sit you do an exam and they put their arm around you, you're not allowed to see. That's how training used to be. Nowadays, people share so much, they almost fight to share on places like YouTube. They can't, they're crawling all over each other to share all the secrets and the levels and everything. But if you look at the people who are genuinely good, they do leave clues. You can see the things, their moments in their life where they were successful and didn't waste their time. So that's why I have my own breadcrumb trail. That's why I go back to a point where I think, well, how did I get here? What was the defining moment? And I go back and, well, I was there because of that. That happened because of him. And I met him because of that. And then there comes like a starting point in time. It doesn't go all the way back to my mum meeting my dad. And if it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't be born. But there's a point where I kind of go, that was the moment where I stepped out of my comfort zone, or that was where I made the decision to do something. So I try to repeat those things and it works. It's a formula for me. I add to it, I fine tune it, but I find being retrospective, using my history, I use it to build my future. That sounds really corny, but that's just the way I am.
And I think that's what I do with the podcast. I try to share stories of hope, and I'm trying to uncover these success trails, right? Because I think that they can be replicated by other people. You just have to find the trail that's right for you.
Yeah.
So I think you're over the number. So this is number 6. How to be a super friend. You should expect nothing in return. And I think this throws a lot of people off. And I'll tell you a story from this week. But unless I can't go forward. So it means that you don't have an ulterior motive, that you're not trying to do something just because you want. So Jacob, who's here, who is also in Raleigh, he had the super soft hot mess hoodie. And I just petted him because it was so soft. I did not do this to be like, hey, man, I want a hoodie. But he sent me a hoodie, and that was really super sweet. And I love this hoodie. It's so, so soft. But I think that sometimes I'm just doing things because I have time and I want to do them. And I'm not going to say that I can't do them unless I can. And I just think other good things will happen. I'm not expecting somebody else to provide me, do something. It's not tit for tat kind of. And I think a lot of people will go into a situation being like, well, I did this, you should do this for me. And I think that this is what Dave and I have done. And we just kind of go with reckless abandon. One time I remember I asked Dave, I said, how do you open the door, the front door? And I said, my husband is very similar more to Dave's wife. And me and Dave are very similar. We just open the door all the way. I don't even look through the peephole, nothing. I'm just like, hey, who's here? And my husband would be like, get the bat, or something. He's like only looking at it, making sure he's looking at the window or looking at the cameras or something. Right. And I think that the way we kind of approach that door is how I'm not expecting anybody to do anything bad, but I'm also not expecting anybody I'm just going, I'm just doing, I'm there. And I'm not doing it with any ulterior motives. I read this book, unless you have an ulterior motive story.
No, I was just going to say, if you ever find yourself doing something for someone that they didn't ask for, and then you say to them, you owe me one, slap yourself in the face, because you should just do things because it feels right and it will help someone out. Don't, like I said, don't do it because you want something in return. I've turned many things down in the past because I can't give the person, like someone's wanting to be generous with me, but I can't give them back what I know they deserve back for that. Now, if they insist, it's like, okay, well, I still will do something with you, but I didn't do this for that thing. Right. I felt I could help you and I wanted to, and that's what a good friend would do. And it all evens out. It all goes round and evens it out in the end. But if you ever say to someone, you owe me, slap yourself hard.
Yeah. Well, so this weekend, this new friend I made, I said I could help her. And I hadn't known her. I mean, I've followed her and I know it was probably creeper a little bit of me. I was like, I can help you. And so her husband was like, how long have you known her? And he's like, don't share your screen, but because I can imagine there are some weirdos out there. I think it's just not me. I know I'm awkward, but maybe I'm not a weirdo. Anyway,
we're the weirdo.
That's right. We're the weirdos. So anyway, I said, I can help you. And then she was like, well, how about I'll just give you whatever. And I was like, you know what? I don't want anything. I'm actually happy to pay for the thing that you're producing. I want to support you in that way because I feel like you've done a lot already. I said, I just want you to be my friend. And I feel like that's so, like, I said this out loud to her. I was like, I feel like that's such a dorky thing to say, but that's really it. Like, I'm not doing it for anything, but I just want to be your friend. I want to be a good friend. And that's what I do. Okay.
It goes back to like spending, we said in part one, we're about spending money with friends. It's like, you might look at it and think, oh, $30 for a font or a color pack or something. You do need it. You will use it, but it's like, we'll go and spend 30 quid, $30 on some tat off Amazon. And yet we won't spend $30 with a friend who's got something that they get all the money. We get something we know we can use, but when we use it, we can promote them as well.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever bought anything from Amazon and gone online and gone, hey, I've got this really cool thing from Amazon. The only time I ever promote Amazon is if I found a book that I really want, and I tend to buy them off Amazon Marketplace because I can get them secondhand from libraries and cheaper. But yeah, whereas I'd rather buy something from Dustin or, a friend who's made a product and go, oh, hey, I bought your t-shirt. I don't need another t-shirt, but when I wear it, I'll post it on Instagram or whatever and go, hey, it's my mate's t-shirt. Go and buy one.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So I read this book, and this is a Jesus book, and it's awesome. And it's called Crazy Faith. And so Michael Todd, he's a preacher in Oklahoma, and if you know anything, one of the disciples was Thomas, and he wasn't with all the other disciples when Jesus came back. And he was like, wait, when I see him, I want him to prove to me that he has the holes in his hands, or, he wants to see where Jesus was slashed in the side. And usually we think of this as doubting Thomas. So he didn't believe that it really was Jesus. Right. But this guy, I've never heard this way of looking at it, but Michael Todd said, well, really, I think he was hopeful, because we are told that we are supposed to be hoping. We are supposed to verbalize what we are hoping for. So I think about this when we are trying to get more logo work or something, right? Well, if you don't tell anybody that you're hoping to get more logo work, then how will anybody know that you want more logo work? And I just love that he flipped this. Instead of being, well, I don't have any, I'm going to need to prove it or whatever. I just love that he switched doubting Thomas to hopeful Thomas, which I really loved that. And then that's something I think that Design Recharge and Creatives Ignite has always done, is just being very much about hope. So it's if Faye can do it, if Dave can do it, if Brian could do it, that means that I could do it. There's nothing like uber special about all of those things. And I love that. So I think that we're just supposed to say what we want instead of expecting people to be able to read our mind.
Oh, one of my least favorite phrases from anybody is the whole thing of, I'm going to sit by the phone and wait for it to ring. If nobody knows you're available and nobody knows what you're doing, and you don't go anywhere and speak to anyone, why is your phone going to ring? You're going to have a very, very long, lonely days sat waiting for that. Like, I know these days it's different, but the old thing of waiting for the phone to ring, it's not like that anymore. You've got to let people know that you're available, and then the right things will happen if they see that you want to be involved.
Well, and it's just like me with that new friend. I said, I would love to help you. And she could have said, no, I'm good. Or she could have said, yes, great. I need your help. But she also had to say what she was struggling with. And I think oftentimes we tend to not share what we're struggling with. But if you don't ever share it, how can for me, like, how can that prayer be answered? That you really wanted somebody to help you with this thing because you didn't never verbalize it with other people. So I think that's cool. So I think you have to have faith that opportunities will come, and that for me, that is definitely in my what I believe, and I need to have faith that those things that I believe that God will take care of me, and that other things will happen. And sometimes there are really droughts, right? But am I doing everything, or am I just sitting by the phone waiting for it to ring? I also think we're supposed to be people of action. And I also think we're not supposed to keep score. Same thing, like, hey, I'll do this for me, you, if you do this for me, right? Both Dave and I are both like, oh, don't keep score.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's playing the long game as well. I mean, when I talk about my career, and sort of people assume I left school and I went to university and I got a degree in design. There's some opportunities I've had that have taken like 6 years to come to fruition. I've had to put in time and expense into turning up for something, going to an event, developing a relationship. And then when people are like, oh, you're so lucky you get to do Adobe Max. It's like, no, but it took me, why do people have to print while I'm in the office on a podcast and my printer's going?
It's very quiet. I almost don't hear.
Oh, it's all right. The mic's over here. But yeah, so I had to like go to a couple of things, develop a relationship, then like kind of let them know what I did, and then like prove myself by doing something. And it took from probably 2013, 2014 through to 2020, 6 years before the opportunity for me to do Adobe Max came along. So for me, it's always long game. You will have some short, quick successes, but it's like the get rich quick thing. You get rich quick and it's over very quick. It's not always sustainable. So I just think, okay, what can I do to sustain this and keep it going? And things change and paths change, but I always play the long game because I have less disappointment in that. Because I think, it's like the thing I love that Christo said a couple of years ago on stage was that important word, yet. I can't do that yet. So I would love to teach at Adobe Max in person. This year it's back in person. I've done 2 years online. I would love to teach live. I won't be disappointed if I don't, because I'm still going to be a TA. So I'll still help out in classes. If I do get the gig, I've still said to the team, probably there's very few instructors will do it because they're either an instructor or a TA. I've said, listen, if I do get to speak, I'll still be a TA because I'm there. Use me. I'd happily help out. But if I don't do it this year, it's not going to be a failure. I just keep doing the work I'm doing and hope maybe next year I might get invited. But if I don't get invited, it's not going to be the end of it. It's a goal. But who knows, in 3 or 4 years' time, an opportunity might come up where I've not thrown my toys out the pram and gone, well, that's not fair. I've done it for this, and why not that? Cut. You've ended that relationship. You've ended that opportunity. So I like playing that long game because, say, if I go backwards and I look at the things that happened, they happened because I played the long game, not because I wanted a quick, easy result, get in, get out and grab the glory. So yeah, if you got the patience, definitely, it's my advice.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me go to the next slide. Oh, this one's you too, Dave.
Oh yeah. So like I said, the big thing for me is making new friends. We don't have to be BFFs. We don't have to be texting each other every day, but everyone's different. Everyone brings something to the table. And I love that phrase of, people say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's sometimes not what you know. It's not who you know, it's who they know. So making friends as you go, it doesn't hurt to chat to people and get to know them. And then you have your kind of your bullseye, you have your core friends, and then the circles come out, and certain people, you even take it and you can have a Venn diagram of bullseyes where certain things cross over. But I love making friends. I love that every time I go somewhere, I come away with I go to Creative South, I come away with a Debbie Clapper.
Yeah.
And we keep in touch and we chat and we text and I love looking at her stuff. And then there'll be a couple of people I met at previous Creative South I got to know more the second time round. That friendship develops. But that's comes from my dad, and we always joked we could go on holiday, and my dad would either already know someone or come away with a friend, a family, or something. So it's interesting. It's we're only here once, and there's a lot of cool people out there. And if you find yourself putting yourself in places where there are good people, you will make some really fast friends like Alan, Glyn, Diane, Debbie. You make fast friends and you make introductions that become slow friends, but not that they're friends that are slow. But I just love that I go on social media, the lovely people that leave comments, the people I connect with on LinkedIn and that. I just love that I can say to someone, if someone says, such and such, like this week, sorry, I know we're in out of time. There was a I sold some field notes books in the field notes group, and the young lady that bought them, Benita, it turns out we were both at the same Adobe Max, and we had a photograph with Charles Anderson on the same day. And then it turns out she worked for Mama Sauce, and I know Nick from Mama Sauce, and we'd actually met, but we hadn't realized we'd actually met. So now we've planned to meet up. If she goes to Adobe Max, we plan to meet up at Adobe Max and have a chat and talk about design. So I just love building those little relationships, that whole kind of small world connection. But yeah, do it. It's great fun.
Me too. All right. So number 7 is you need to create pockets of support. So one of the things about making new friends and being a friend and having someone be your friend is because you do have to be open. So you have to be vulnerable. And lots of people are out there talking about like how you can get your super fans. And me and Dave are not about the super fans, or maybe just me, but I really, really don't like super fans. I like super friends, right? That we are when Dot came on today, he's like, sup friends. And or whatever, Dave, sup Dave. And I was like, sup is super, not
what's up,
right? Like for me. So to me, it's like, I don't need, I need friends. I don't want fans. So these are some of my super friends, people that I meet with on a regular basis, and I've seen grow, and then they help me grow too. And because I don't think we're competing against each other. Lots of people, like Dave talked about how everybody would keep it really close and they wouldn't share. And obviously there's still that kind of, some people tend towards that, but we're really not competing. There's enough work for all of us to go around. And so I think it's more like we're pollinating. We're just taking a little bit of the pollen and we're going to go and spread it around. And that's definitely kind of Dave and I's perspective on helping people and meeting people. It's not just about what they can do for us. It's about, oh, wow, I know somebody else to connect you to. And to me, communities and typography have another similarity, which it's like they're like bras. And when they're doing their job, they're supporting. When they're supporting the message, they're supporting your girls, right? And a community is somebody who's going to support you. It doesn't mean that you are the only one that has to show up and give. It also means that it's a two-way street, which I really think is difficult sometimes. In today, like with our clients, it's sometimes you also sometimes have to ask or tell them what you need as well. So this balconette bra, any of the women here can help vouch with me, is that this is not the kind of community. This is like you have to stand straight. I hope you don't drop anything because everybody's coming out if you bend over. So this is not like the community that I need. I don't need, if I have to stay in line and I have to do this way because otherwise things go awry, right? And they're not comfy either. Amy says, I agree. I'm more of this kind of community support. I need one that's going to hold me in and really let me be able to run and jump and play and do everything that I need to do. So that's the kind of community I need. I need somebody who's going to be okay with me crying, or okay with me getting sensitive, or okay with me, hey, I need to take a month off, or I need to meet, I can't meet as much. That's the kind of community I need. And that's what I would encourage y'all to do as well. Just be that kind of friend to do that. So I know there is this comparison is the thief of joy. And it's a quote by Teddy Roosevelt. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But, if we just are comparing ourselves to each other on Instagram, or this is where I am, and I'm not as good as Dave at this, or I'm not as good at whatever, right? Then I will never be good enough ever, because I really just need to compare to who I was yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say this. I wish I could remember it. There's a saying about, I think it's a dolphin and a monkey. If you judge a dolphin by its ability to climb a tree, it's useless. But you don't compare to the wrong thing as well, which you can do. This is a big one for me, and I could talk for an hour about this, but I'm going to say in 1 minute, embrace your differences. Okay. We are all different. We all come from different backgrounds. Our days are different. Our people are different. So embrace who you are and how you deal with things. And I know we've gone through a really awful time where we've all had some very difficult circumstances and situations. But if we just park that over, because that was something we never saw coming, on a day-to-day, embrace who you are, embrace why you're different to someone else, embrace that you're not as clever, you're not as experienced as someone else. We're not all at the peak of our game, whether it's sport, business, politics, whatever. So when I see people post the words imposter syndrome on their social media, 9 times out of 10, it's a crutch. Of course we suffer from imposter syndrome, because it's not that we don't deserve to be where we are. It's not that someone's going to tap on our shoulder and go, hey, you shouldn't be here. You're not good enough. We are good enough for the moment that we're in. Okay. And if I ever feel like imposter syndrome, as it was, it's because I'm not qualified yet. It's because I've not learned enough yet. It's because I'm not as far ahead as maybe I thought I would, which is why I said, don't take on things you can't do. Because as soon as you take on things you can't do and you struggle, you go, oh, where's that? Oh, let me just pull it out. Yeah, imposter syndrome. I'll use that one today. It's a very overused term that is an excuse for people, where there are genuinely people who do suffer from it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It's like ADHD is a thing. But so many people use it in the way like OCD. If you ever speak to anyone who's genuinely got OCD, they hate it when people go, oh, sorry, I have to have my mug there because I'm so OCD. They're like, oh, mate, you don't even know what OCD is. So next time you sit and think about it, just think about why you think you're suffering from imposter syndrome. Because it's not that you're not good enough, because you sat there with an Apple Mac, a monitor, software, books, friends, community. You're in the right place. You're just not at a point in time where you expect to be. It's not a bad thing. So embrace your imposter syndrome. That's all I have to say about that. And also, don't dim other people's light to make yours brighter. I see this so much in the photography industry. My friends in photography, if Alan's still here, he'll know about it. It's that whole thing of one-upmanship. Is rather than congratulate and embrace someone's difference or success, it's you have to put them down to make yourself feel elevated. And we don't live in such a tolerant world anymore. And this behavior stands out a lot, and it's called out a lot. So don't be that person. Praise that, brighten other people's lights at the expense of yours dimming, because yours will get brighter again. But sometimes people just need a few extra watts, 1.21 gigawatts of power to give them a little boost. So yeah, flip it.
Absolutely. I love that. So, okay. So this is a, you're supposed to just look at it and see. So in the chat, you can do this. So just the little thing, the little square kind of in the front, not the stuff on the sides. So it's like 3, I don't know what it's like a circle that was cut into quarters, I think, and then put together. So Dave, what do you see?
So when I first saw this, I thought of one of those windmills that you have as a kid, where it's got the little fans and you spin it, but one's fallen off.
Right. A little pinwheel, right?
Yeah.
So, but I didn't see a pinwheel. I saw a running milkshake. Like, didn't you see it? Like he's running, just that's all I could see. But that's where the comparison can be beautiful thing. Like, okay, so then let's compare and let's flip that. It's not the thief of joy. I think it's so much fun. So, if you look at the right, that's mine. If you look at the left, that's Dave's. I know that I've done this with Pippa and Faye also, and a few other people. I love that we see things so differently, but sometimes we see things so similar. So I made like a pea pod man, and Dave made a leaf, which is similar. I don't even know what I was making here. I love this guy with the really big armholes. I love that you saw Marge, right? You made these connect together, and he's pointing. It looks like Woodrow Wilson, or maybe it's Teddy Roosevelt right there. I don't know. But I just love that they're so different. And I couldn't even make anything out of the hot dog. I just drew around it. But like, I love that you made a hot dog, and it makes it so that maybe we just need to compare to someone else sometimes to see how unique we are. I just think that's really fun. Go ahead. Oh, we're going to say something. Oh, I thought you were breathing. I thought you were, I want to say something. Then these are 4. So Amy Lynn, this was hers. This was mine. This is one of my students, Grace. And this is one of my students, Randy, which this is the same part of the blob sheet, and look how different we all did. Amy connected it, and she made this like dancing woman. I just made a weird couch. Grace made a moon, and then Randy's, I was like, whoa, what in the heck? But I love this. He's like cutting ham or something. I just think maybe comparison is really unexpected joy. Number 8, last one.
Yes. So one of the big things that's really helped me, and I mentioned it earlier, Adobe Max offering to be a TA, is offering to help, say yes to helping. Doesn't mean, but this is another thing we have to value is our time. Don't just say yes to everything, because you'll burn out, you'll be exhausted, and you'll actually find people then take advantage of you. And that's the last thing you want to happen. So obviously always measure the people you're saying yes to and why you're helping them and how much of your time is going to help them and help you. So when I say yes to helping, sometimes they are, like I said, they are things I would not do in a million years. One of them is standing in front of a camera. I am firmly behind the camera. And a few years ago, it was around 2012. Yeah, it was because it's 10 years old now. 2012, my friend Glyn Dewis ran a workshop, and he was doing caricature portraits, which you'll see in the next slide, but leave it on this one for now. Okay. And his model never turned up. The day before, he said, can't make it. And Glyn was like, oh, I've got a workshop tomorrow. I've got 12 people coming. I need a model. And all it was like an editor, like JJ Jameson from Spider-Man kind of thing, a news editor. So he said to me, Dave, I need someone to be the model. And I'm like, yeah, you do. And he said, no, Dave, I need someone to be a model. You. And I was like, absolutely not, Glyn, in words to that effect. I did not want to dress up. I didn't want to stand in front of people and look different and be photographed. But I had to. So the only option Glyn had. It's probably one of the best things I've ever done, because before we go on to the next slide, these 2 photographs are mass. Like the one on the right is the last one I did, which was when I turned 50, I took a picture of me going like that. And I said, when people say the only way is up, I didn't mean it meant like I'd look like the guy from Up. So we did a workshop, and if you find Glyn's channel, there's actually video footage of us in the studio, and I made the badge. I had the clothes. My trousers are all padded out because my t-shirt stuffed down there, and he did all the photo manipulation. But I love this because it was just came from nothing. And by this time I had the confidence to be in front of the camera, and I came up with the idea of dressing up. The one on the left is I don't undress in front of anybody. I don't go swimming. I don't walk around in the summer with my shirt off. So when Glyn said, could you be a boxer and wear a vest, and being out of shape, we played on it. I was an out of shape boxer that had been absolutely battered. And this came from help. So if you go to the next slide, the image on the right, of me with a cigar, and it's not a lit cigar because I refuse to smoke anything because I never have done. So part of the Photoshop effect was that. But I stood in, I did this character, the editor, it became, Glyn published it and did like behind the scenes. It then got picked up by 2 photography magazines. I was on the cover of 2 magazines. I even found a magazine at the airport when I was coming back from Germany that my picture was on. The bottom one became the main image for a photography conference in Holland. So apparently my face was everywhere on all these big drop banners. But once we did it, helping out, it really took me out my comfort zone. It really gave me a bit of confidence to be a character and be someone else. So we then did this psycho with the blood, and then we did a nerd, and we did the boxer. There was another one we did as well. But it became fun. I was helping Glyn. These people come into workshops and they were having great fun. And I was making friendships from those that are still friends each other. But this was an opportunity that has opened so many doors for me, because I was in the photography industry, and I've got work off the back of this, not modeling work, even though I'm a professionally paid model. But I have actually got work off the back of this because of the reputation and the relationship with Glyn in the industry, that so many people I know think I'm a photographer. In fact, bless him, Doc, who I love. This is one I tell you about Doc Reed. I love Doc Reed more than I love Ryan Reynolds. And that's saying something. Doc messaged me this week and asked me a question about Lightroom. I've opened Lightroom like twice in my whole life and closed it just as quick. I couldn't help him and I felt bad, but I don't know. I'm not a photographer, but some people think I am because of the industry I'm in. So I would never take on photography work. But yeah, saying yes to helping. This is something I'm really proud of, because it's something I never, ever thought I would do. And I've had so much fun doing it as well.
And it stemmed from something that you were so uncomfortable doing, but you'd said yes because Glyn needed you. And sometimes those opportunities, we don't think of them as opportunities, but they end up becoming that. Chris Doe says that I said this, and I guess maybe I did, but I can't really remember. But anyway, he said, he's like, Diane, you said this. You can either be the sage on the stage or the guide on the side. And I usually prefer to be the guide on the side because I love to see other people shining. So I call that being a bottom cheerleader. And I think Dave's a bottom cheerleader. Chris is one of my bottom cheerleaders. So people who are going to lift me, make ways for me. So I also try to make ways for other people as well. So what Chris saw as superpowers I was seeing maybe as weaknesses, and it's just being willing to look at yourself in a different way, and possibly those can be seen as strengths or even superpowers, just like you being willing to play those characters, right? And all those characters, when Mike was making you be the plastics guy or whatever, it helped.
I was somebody else
to be able to be the killer or the boxer or whatever. I think that sometimes it's going back to that kid and playing. So, yeah.
So 8 steps. We've gone through 8 things over 2 sessions. So the takeaways and action steps for you. The thing I would say to my children is take everything we've talked about and everything we do. And I was like, how do you fill your bucket? So I like to make sure that my bucket has a combination of different things in it to fill it up. And if it starts to get full, it means I want that overflow to go. I don't want it to go to waste. I want it to help somebody else. So there are times where I might get an opportunity that, like I say, is a bit overwhelming or a bit fantastic, and I just want to share it with someone else. I want to fill their bucket as well. And at the end of the day, if we can get quite a nice full bucket, we're doing a good thing. We're collecting all the right things. So we always say to our girls, how's your bucket today? and they tell us the things that made them happy, the things that made them sad. But we make sure at the end of the day they can talk about it. So find a friend. If your bucket's very empty, talk to a friend. Talk to them about why it's empty, what's happened, and have someone help you, because it won't be empty all the time. But that's how I like to look at my day or my week.
I love that. So this is what we did at Creative South. We had everybody was sitting down, and we said, everybody, if you came and you already knew somebody at Creative South, you may have come alone, but you came and you already knew somebody, stand up. And then people stood up, and then, and Debbie's here. Hey, Debbie. And then I said, now look around, because everybody who's sitting down needs to be asked to dinner and asked to lunch, and they need to be talked to. So there are people who need a new friend. And so I had people come up to me later. They were like, if you had said anybody who came alone, stand up, would have never stood up. And I was like, I know nobody would have stood up, but it's about, you were standing up because you knew somebody, but now these people need somebody too. So it's just about making connections, I think, and helping people. So one of the things we did at Creative South was we wanted to give people conversation starters. And so we gave everybody some stickers with blobs. We thought, okay, well, they can stick their sticker down and draw something on these. These could be rotated. That's why they're all rotated. You could see something in different ways. So just rotate it till you find something, and then share and try to find somebody with the other pink one, or try to see what they did. So it gave them a opportunity to compare, but in a good way, with somebody else. And then if I was with somebody who had the gray one and I had the blue one, at least I could say, hey, what did you do? Because it could be a doodle, right? And then we thought sometimes you can tell an embarrassing story. And maybe if we have time at the end, we'll tell our embarrassing stories. We both have some, more than one. And then just listen more. Be somebody who's asking more questions and being curious about the other person. Instead of trying to one-up them or tell them a story that's funny, just listen and ask more about their story, because that's a really good way to keep into a conversation. I was like, what did I move? And then just be curious, right? Ask more questions, and you might have a good opener story like Dave does.
Oh yeah. So my conversations, that I'm lucky, I've got a really good conversation. It's a happy, sad one. So I lost my dad 2017. Crikey, it's that many years. Seems like forever, but my dad's in Love Actually, and I tell everybody that I can, because I'm so proud of it. I love that he's immortalized in film, even though it is for a few seconds. But I know when I come to America, lots of people love the accent, whether I up my game and speak more proper and eloquently, or I drop back to how I talk when I'm with my friends, which is a bit more, people understand me less. But one of the things I love is people like film and they like music. And when I often say to friends, what's your favorite film? More often than not, Love Actually comes up. And then I go, actually, my dad's in Love Actually. And they go, no way. And then I can tell the story about my dad. And it just gets a conversation going. Yeah, of course it's me talking about me, but I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about my dad. I'm so proud. If you actually look in the top image, that's my mum in between them. So technically my mum's also in Love Actually. It's right at the end. It's the scene at the end with the airport where they do the talk over, and Hugh Grant comes out and Martine McCutcheon jumps up on him, and then there's like a talk over. Dad's about the third or fourth person, and he's sadly both Dad and Eric have died now. Eric died just recently. So it's lovely that they're both immortalized in this film. And the other thing that's really cool for me is my older brother has been really good friends with Keith Richards since about 1980. So I've been afforded some amazing opportunities. But when my dad was diagnosed with dementia, my older brother, who's 11 years older, he had some time on his hands, and Dad used to be a singer. And Alan decided to get my dad to record an album, because Alan's in a band and he had all the equipment, just to sing these old classics like Dean Martin. So the album was called Johnny Clayton and the D Martinis, because it's after Dean Martin. And Alan just pulled in every favor, every musician he knew, people from the Damned and the English bands. And Keith was like, what do you want me to do? So they did Bad Leroy Brown. It's one of my favorite tracks. I love it when my iPod Shuffle throws it up when I'm in the car driving. I always say, hello, Dad. Keith doesn't play guitar on it. Keith actually plays piano on it. But they're two things that I can talk about my dad, and it makes other people, they can talk about their family or their parents or some proud thing they've got. Now, of course, I know not everyone's going to say, yeah, my person's also in a film, or my dad recorded with a rock star, but I'm proud of these things. And these are things that I can use to make a story. And, someone might have lost a parent or something. So these are if you come up and talk to me, I can tell you more about it. If ever you see me, but I just love that I've got these two in my bank of, hey, want to hear an interesting story? So yeah, we've all got them. We've all got them.
So, and I think it's just important for everybody to create space for people to grow and practice and to shine. So this was Dave's. Who can you lift, right? Who can you create space for?
Yeah. Who can you lift? What can you do? Just remember, be loyal. It's not hard. If you stay true to yourself, you can be a very loyal friend. Remind people they're important. Like I said, it goes back to the don't try and step over someone. We're all good at something. Rethink how you measure wealth. So wealth for me isn't money. Wealth for me is my friendship group. It's my experience, is my ability to be part of things. That fills up my bucket of, if it was a bucket of cash, that's my bucket of cash. Be willing to be uncomfortable. Helping someone might take a comfort zone, but sometimes they're the funniest. They're the stories you tell. They're not the my dad's in love actually, but they're the, I've got to tell you this one time I did this and it turned into that, and it wasn't life threatening, but it's a funny story, and it's something that people love hearing.
And then also remember to be approachable, to expect nothing in return, to create pockets of support for yourself, and say yes to helping, even when it's uncomfortable. So we're just two old cheerleaders lifting other people, and Dave needs new friends. And this is his phone number and where you can find him on Instagram and other places, and then his email. And you can take a screenshot of that, I guess. And then there's mine, because I always need new friends too. And that's how you can get with me. So Dave, you want to share an embarrassing story?
Oh, my one, the one that always springs to mind, and it's just something that happened to me trying to be cool. I think I was 18, and I had this girlfriend, or working on her being a girlfriend. And I had this t-shirt she really liked. It was a Frankie Goes to Hollywood t-shirt, and she really wanted it, and I wouldn't let her have it because it was mine. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll take you up London and we'll go to HMV and I'll buy you that t-shirt. So we went up to London and we're on a London bus. Now, if you know the old London buses, the back corner is open. So you can run, jump on the bus, sit down, the conductor comes, you pay your fare. As we're going up Oxford Street in London on a busy Saturday afternoon, me trying to be all cool, calm and collected, I just go, hey, we're nearly HMV. We don't have to wait for the bus stop. We can just jump off when the bus stops. So I go to the end to jump off. And as I go to leap off, just step off the bus pulls away. I spin, I hit the road, and I roll in the road from the momentum of the bus pulling away, which then stopped about 8 feet because the traffic stopped again. And there am I laying in the road in Oxford Street in London on a busy Saturday afternoon, no longer looking cool, looking up at a girl who does not want to be within 100 miles of me or look or want to be like she's anything like a girlfriend. And she didn't get off the bus and help me. She completely ignored what had happened. And to this day, I can't go up Oxford Street and get to a certain part of London near the 100 Club and not remember that story, and just remember laying in the road looking like an absolute chump.
Oh, so, All right. So mine, I've never shared this with Dave. Maybe some of you have heard this. I don't know. It's kind of gross. I should probably hit stop, but maybe this will be the, yeah, she wasn't the one for sure, Amy Lynn. So you'll have to tell me if this is too much. My mom is probably already like, don't tell it, Diane. So I was at Auburn and we had a cafeteria. So this is where I went to college, and it was like in the winter, and I was a little sick. And have you ever, like, you have your tray. So there's like my meal, and War Eagle, you might not want to claim me after this one. And then I had my drink and everything. And so I'd paid, there's a little place to pay, you put your stuff down, and then I'm walking out, and then it's open and everybody can see. It was in Foy, if you guys are my Auburn grads who are here. So I go, and I can feel that I need to blow my nose. And I blew the biggest snot bubble, and I couldn't do anything. I just had to just try to breathe it back in. It was like a bubblegum snot bubble. It was huge out of my nostril. So it was like, I was just breathing, but I couldn't do anything else. It blew. I'm not kidding. It was this big. And it was so gross. And I just was like breathing it back in, trying to breathe it. And it was in front of everyone. It was snot bubble city. So if you know, that's how I cuss. I say shoot boogers or booger snot. And that's not why, but it was super embarrassing because there was nothing I could do except drop my stuff. And then more people would have probably looked at me. Anyway, it was, so Dave, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being too gross to share and 1 being, oh, it's fine. What would you say on mine?
Mine could have only have been worse if, as I was laying on the road, a snot bubble came out my face.
But it wasn't like one that would pop, like sometimes you make a snot. It was very well formed, and it wouldn't pop. It was so gross. But I just had to breathe it back in. And anyway, there wasn't room in my little nose for all the snot in there. What was the number? If you were guessing on the grossness, should I share that one again?
Oh, that was a Spinal Tap 11.
My mom will be later. She's like, you shouldn't share that with those people. Anyway, it was funny. But again, there's nothing out of it. It's just that we all do the gross things happen, or things happen, when I was just trying to get to my table, Anyway, nobody wanted to be my boyfriend after that. That's for sure. Well, Dave, thank you. And just so you guys know, I'm going to take some of June and July off. I'm announcing it here. I will announce it again. I'll probably send out an email this week, but I'm not going to do camp this year because I just really feel called to take a break. And I'm not taking a break from the podcast, but I'm just taking a break so that I can not have that pressure of having to do something else. And it is 10 years. I've done the podcast every week for 10 years, starting next week. And so next week's going to be a rapid recharge, which they're never rapid, but they're maybe not as long as me and Dave. But sometimes, it's going to be about kind of what I've been learning and where I'm going with some growth. So I'm really excited. I'm nervous because I like to have things to do. It makes me feel good about myself to be busy. So it's really going to be hard of taking that time for a break, but I'm going to work 2 days a week, and then I'm going to do drawing and do some other art stuff the 3 days a week. And so anyway, I'm excited about taking a little bit of less time, and I'm excited about sharing 10 years.
That's amazing. 10 years.
Yeah, it is. It's I'm really glad that I'm taking a break. Some of my friends have said, yeah, we've been telling you for years to take a break. And I'm like, oh, you have? Like, I don't know if I ever heard that. I don't know. I guess I just kept going. So we'll see. I'm having to say no, which is another uncomfortable thing for me, but it's good. It's those times when I'm just passing it on to somebody else, which I think Dave and I both really believe that you should be able to do. So
yeah.
I will see you next week. And if you're listening, you'll hear Paul's episode next, and then you'll hear that 10-year rapid recharge. And Ashley, who has been my right hand man, woman, right? She's a woman, but people don't say that as right hand. Anyway, whatever. She's been my right hand. She's going to do a podcast episode with me sometime this summer. So that'll be one of the episodes that we do. And I'm very thankful for y'all just listening and coming. And Dave, thank you so much for doing this with me. I want to make sure that you guys know how to connect with Dave if you didn't get his stuff on the thing, but I'm going to put it right here. And it will also be underneath or right underneath. So you'll be able to click. And then if you wanted to hear part 1, that one's also underneath as well. It's just, let's see if
you can message me if there's anything you want to know, anything I've said or ask anything. Just message me on any of the things. Email's probably easier. But yeah, you got my number. I'm on WhatsApp and WhatsApp
Hannah says unless it's in Lightroom. Don't
I wanted to say as well before I go, a couple of things. One, He Shoots, He Draws podcast next Monday. The episode is me and Debbie Clapper, Neural. So this week is me, Glyn and Alan talking about gear and stuff. So I've got Debbie next on the show. So I've got to just finish editing that. If you're interested in anything that I do, check out kelby1.com because I've just had a class come out, which is basically showing how to use vector tools in Photoshop. They called it how to make logos in Photoshop, which has made every graphic designer go, no! So I lost about 50 points of credibility, but it's more to how to use vector tools in Photoshop. And you can make logos in Photoshop using the vector tools, just not pixels. But if you wait until the 1st of June, if you want to join for a month and check the stuff out and all the other classes, because I've got some stuff on there for InDesign and other Photoshop, you'll get the magazine. And on the 1st of June, I've got a feature article in there, which is all about my opinion. It's like my feature article. It's how I approach things, but it's about my world in logo design and how I deal with logo requests and logo work and a little bit of history. And there's a quiz there as well. If you wait till 1st of June, you get the new magazine as well. So that's just extra couple of things.
Is that the correct, the KELBYONE?
ONE, yeah.
Okay.
Kelby1, all words, kelby1.com. There's design and photography and Lightroom classes. I think it's like $10 a month. But if you just join for the month, you can get access to the magazine and all the classes on there and everything. So you can have a scooch around and see if anything floats your boat there.
Right. And then Doc can learn about Lightroom.
Yeah, it's tons of Lightroom stuff in there.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, we'll see you next week. Dave, thank you so much. And
thank you very
so glad
much,
you're
everyone.
my friend. Okay.
Likewise.